Alright, so just a quick video here. I'm going to show you how to do a proper connection doing poke, wrap, and solder. This is the type of connection you'd use if you're hooking up, say, something like an alarm system, GPS tracking device. Could be, adding a relay in, for, lights or car stereo, something along those lines. So, just going to show you that real quick. So, we've already tested our wires. We know which one's which. So we've got our red's going to be our ignition, and our blue here is going to be our constant power. We'll go ahead and take this old zip tie off. They apparently have an alarm system or something on here. So one thing we won't do is tap in at the exact same location. So we won't tap in here where they've already been tapped at. We'll come down just a little bit further. So first thing we're going to do, I've got a pair of automatic wire strippers here. We're just going to peel the insulation back. There's a little over 1/2 inch, probably closer to 3/4. And I'll just spread that out. I'm going to strip off about 1 inch of insulation off my unit wire. I will poke that through, squeeze it back together. Then I will wrap that around. Now, if you noticed, I didn't wind the wire real tight. All I did was just kind of put it together a little bit to kind of hold it in place while I was working on getting it through where I poked in at. By not having it wrapped, tight around itself, it'll actually flatten out, so it gives it a lot smoother connection on there. Also gives it more surface area. So now we'll solder it up. Give the soldering iron a minute here. That coated up good. Then we'll tape it off. Short section of electrical tape. Now I always like to start just ahead of where my wire strip's at and go down at least a tape width past that. If you notice, I'm stretching the tape out as I go. You don't ever want to just wrap it around there a couple times. You want to cover the whole connection and try to get a tape's width ahead and a tape's width behind. This also gives some strain relief at the back end. Before we're all done, we'll put a zip tie over the back side and one over the connection itself. That'll give it more strain relief in there and prevent anything from happening. Okay, we'll do the constant power next. Same steps. Strip back the insulation. Strip back about 1 inch or so of our wire. Take our pick. Just split the strands. Slip that through. When you do slide it through, you want to try to make sure you've got all the strands in there, nothing's hanging out. We'll give it a nice flat wrap around. Your goal is to get at least 2 to 3 full wraps around there. There are some books that say, you kind of do it like a knot. If you're soldering it, you do not need to do that. In fact, I actually advise against it whenever possible, just because it does create a bigger bump in there when you're taping it off, and it doesn't look quite as neat. The soldering is going to provide the mechanical connection you need as well. And always make sure you've got a good soldering iron with a good tip on it. The wider the tip, the better, because that will put more surface area and give you more heat contact, or heat transfer, I should say. So it heats it up faster. Also make sure your soldering iron is up to temperature before you do that, otherwise you might be sitting there for a minute or so while it heats up. Again, section of tape. Tape widths below it. Slowly wrapping, stretching it over till we get roughly tape's width past it. Now, I'll grab a couple zip ties, put some strain relief on there, then we'll tie it all up, and that's all there is to it. Thanks.